Has Super Mario RPG ruined the original game by making Mario a cutesy, dumb-looking idiot? Let's find out today. Out of all the games I was convinced I'd never see again, Super Mario RPG was definitely one of them. It released super late in the Super Nintendo's life cycle, and the game never even got a release here in England. I've only been able to play the game on modded systems, as it doesn't even work with the Super Nintendo's universal adapter used to region unlock PAL versions of the console. They really did go to effort to make sure we couldn't play this game legally. While previews have been coming out left, right and centre about Mario RPG, I want to talk a little bit about the game's actual art direction. This is looking like a mega faithful remake to a T, but I feel like there's an element that isn't actually being discussed all that much, and that's the way Mario and the rest of the characters have had their designs slightly altered in the upgrade from 16-bit. So get ready for a bit of close analysis as we compare old and new, as well as learn some design history along the way. So the original Mario RPG signified a big change for the plumber, as it offered for the first time a glimpse at what he might look like in a 3D form. Well, outside of Donkey Kong Country's playful cameo. Despite this looking pretty off-model now, especially in promotional renders, Mario 64 would release not long after and use a design very similar to this one. This is somehow, despite both games being in development at the same time via completely different teams. Of course, the other piece of the puzzle were the developers of the game, Squaresoft, who prior to this, had a little bit of success with a little franchise called Final Fantasy. Have you heard of that one? Chrono Trigger? No? Alright. Let's keep going then. These games had been synonymous with high quality 2D pixel art, with many of them leaving a lasting impression that can still be seen influencing modern games. It's for that reason that this was such an interest in Squaresoft creation. While quite frankly there are an abundance of isometric pixel art based games from Square Enix in the modern day, at the time of this release the first Final Fantasy Tactics hadn't even been released, so this new look for one of their RPGs definitely stood out from the pack. Of course, with an isometric field of view came an isometric 3D Mario sprite. Okay, just one really quick note, it's definitely too late to be recording this, but I missed it from the script. I want to be clear, the process used in Mario RPG is basically 3D models were created and then scaled down into sprites because obviously 3D couldn't run on the Super Nintendo. It's basically the same process that was done for the Donkey Kong Country games. So pre-rendered stuff looked really good on the computer, had to be scaled down into 2D pixels, which is why it looks 3D, but it actually isn't. So just wanted to be clear because I'm not kind of implying that these are similar sprites to general isometric ones. Cool, back to the video. He of course wasn't a 3D model yet and was still very much made up of highly detailed pixels. He does look like the game's promotional render, but he actually does look a little bit more normal in the game. Yeah, this render has seen things. If you showed me modern Mario and this sprite, truthfully, I'd say they predicted the future and got it spot on. So as for the remake, across the board, despite a massive obvious leap from pixels to rebuilt 3D models and HD visuals, the team has done a fantastic job of converting the world and vibe of Mario RPG to a new graphical style. It's done so faithfully that I look at it and think, wow, this is exactly what this used to look like. And then I go back and notice the differences when I check out footage side by side. It's usually only little things, like adding some more elements to Castle Town, things like that. It's all really minor. But for Mario himself, while you might not think it at first, he actually does look pretty different. And a big reason behind this is down to his proportions. And as a result, this depiction of Mario has kind of unofficially been coined Chibi Mario, aka a silly little guy. Now, most of you watching probably know what chibi means, but for those of you who don't, chibi is a slang word meaning short person or small child. It is also used to describe a style of cartooning in which the characters are drawn to be very small and cute, with exaggerated features and childlike proportions. With those features in mind and placed side by side with this previous sprite, this is really obvious, and those heightened features do stand out. Mario's head, feet and hands are huge, and he looks stumpier than he ever has done before, kind of like that original promo render. This perhaps wouldn't be as noticeable to me, but given there is now CGI video being used in the game as well, it's really in your face and kind of hard to ignore, especially when this was the first visual they used to reveal the game in the first place. This applies to the whole cast of main characters. Mario, Peach, Bowser, Geno, well, Mallow actually looks pretty much exactly the same. However, all of their villains kind of do retain their original forms. This is a character design style that has been applied to many franchises that needed to mix things up. The most notable I can think of is probably with Street Fighter. When the spin-off sequel, Gem Fighter, released, chibi recreations of the most popular characters from the roster were used, and it really helped differentiate the game from the hardened arcade fighter. With Mario RPG, I really like the change, and I can theorize why I think Nintendo might have implemented these subtle changes. In 1996, 3D Mario was a novel concept. Mario RPG debuted a 3D Mario that, as mentioned, kind of, coincidentally, aligned well with 64's direction and the character's evolution into what we know today. Mario has been in this form factor with minor changes across eras, we all know that, and perhaps for brand consistency, it's remained pretty constant. Nintendo has, however, always been very clear to have him look distinctly different in specific spin-offs, and this is very apparent with his different RPG series in general. Paper Mario RPGs embrace the paper and craft aesthetic with a much simplified, almost old-school cartoon design, and the Mario and Luigi games embrace the cartoon style from a wackier level of expression, from a top-down field of view, showing Mario again from a new perspective. Both these games are built on the DNA of Mario RPG, but Nintendo clearly wanted to make the art direction a big unique selling point of both, so it's almost as if these newer RPGs are actually inspiring a slight rethink of the original. No matter what way you spin it, I feel like a sense of whimsical joy would be lost if this Mario was simply the same design we had here but in 3D, appearing as he looked in Mario Odyssey or 3D World. It gives him almost a toy-like feel, or makes him feel like a child lost in a magical land. Given the themes and world of Mario RPG represent the Mushroom Kingdom in a way that never has really been replicated, it gives a uniqueness to Mario RPG that it definitely needs after what has been a pretty standard 2 decades of Mario. So yeah, I'm super excited for this game, and while I'm quite confident that it will lack extra features in a similar vein to Link's Awakening, that remake was a triumph, and this will probably be one as well. If I could critique anything at all, it doesn't look like the original SNES game will be included with the release, which would have been a lovely bonus for those who love pixel art like myself. Who knows, maybe they'll surprise us. So what do you think of the art direction of Mario RPG's remake? Do you prefer the original? Let me know in the comments. I'm always keen to chat and see what you think. I'm still keen to cover some Mario design topics in the future, and I also recently took a look at the best designs of Rayman, and will be revisiting that best design series with a number of other highly requested characters. But there are some other surprises to come too, so please stay tuned.